Hello there everyone and welcome to another edition of Lydia's Crafty Corner with me, Lydia, in my little crafty corner. So today we are going to be creating a card which has lots and lots of texture. We have 3D embossing, we also have a die cut background as well. So first up, I am going to be using the Whimsy Motif 3D embossing folder. This is so cute. I love the 3 different flowers on here and also the arrangement is beautiful. What I'm going to do is I am going to emboss this twice, and I'm just embossing this onto a piece of white cardstock. Mine is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, but you could use any size that's going to cover the entire image. And I am going to do that twice, so I do have 2 of these to use on my card. I'm going to be using the low tack sticky mat just underneath my embossed image so I can stick my stencils down without having to use any tape. So these stencils do coordinate with the Whimsy Motif 3D embossing folder, and these are the Whimsy Motif layering stencils. So for the leaves, I wanted to go a little bit different, and I'm going to go with some grey leaves. So I have the very kind of a light colour here, which is the limestone ink, and I'm just adding that over the little leaves that we have. I'm trying to add more of that colour to the kind of centre of the image, and then have the colour gradient out towards the edges. So once I've done the first embossed image, I'm just going to remove that off my low tack mat and then add in my second one. And then I can just easily line this stencil up. It's really easy. All you're going to need to do is line that up with the embossed leaves that we have below. I'm just going to use the same colour as before. So this is the limestone ink that I'm adding through the stencil. I'm just using a small blending tool to do that, but you could use a larger one if you wanted to. It's completely up to you what feels best. Once that has been done, I'm going to move on to the first stencil. So this fourth stencil was the leaves, and I just find that it's easier to pop that one in first, and then I'm popping in the first one. I'm just adding this into place onto the embossed images that we have below. So for this flower that I have on the left hand side, the more of a cupped kind of tulip flower, I will be using the Mountain Mist ink for that one. I'm then going to be using a pink, and this is the Rose Quartz, so it's a really dusky light pink colour, and I'll be using that on the ranunculus flower that we have at the bottom. Again, I'm just using a small blending tool to add the ink through. For the rose image at the top, I'm going to go with a blue, and I have this very pretty water hyacinth. It's kind of got a touch of purple in there, so it's a really pretty colour. And again, I'm just adding that through the stencil using a small blending tool. Once that has been done, I'm going to do exactly the same on the second image. And then once that has been done, I'm going to move on to the second stencil. So that's what we're doing here. I'm just popping the second stencil into place, and I'm going to use the same colors as I did before for each of the 3 flowers that we have. So for the rose flower, I will be using that water hyacinth ink. For the kind of tulip flower that we have here, I'll be using that Mountain Mist. And then for the bottom one, that's kind of a ranunculus crossed with a peony, I will be using that Rose Quartz. Once that has been done, I'm just going to lift that stencil up, and I am going to add in the flower center onto the tulip. So that is on the stencil too, and I'm just going to use some of the mid yellow to add that in there. Then I've done the same with the second image, and we're just going to pop in to place the third stencil now on the first image. I'm going to use the same colors as before, so we have the Rose Quartz for the pink flower, we have the Mountain Mist for the turquoise flower, and also the water hyacinth for the blue flower. So once that has been done, I did the second image in exactly the same way. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to fussy cut around the image. Now, I am leaving a small white border around the outside edge. I do find that this makes the fussy cutting way more easier, and also it is going to cut down on the time that it does take for you to cut around the image. Once I have done the first image, I'm also going to do the second one. So then I have 2 of these fussy cut images that we can use on the card. So I'm just going to finish that one up, just cutting around the last of the little leaves that we have on the edge here. And it's such a pretty design, and I just love the simplicity and kind of whimsiness of this one here. So once I have that one, I did the same for the second one. Now I'm going to create the background, and I have the honeycomb daisy cover die here, and I'm just going to cut that out of a piece of cardstock. This is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and it's Classic Crest Solar White. This is the £80, but you could use the larger one or the thicker one if you wanted to. And I've just popped that into position onto the cutting plate, and then we're going to run that through my die cutting machine. Once that has been done, I am going to release this. Now, you do need to be pretty careful with this one. It is quite delicate. We have those kind of little dotted lines, as well as those beautiful little daisy flowers within the image. It's so, so cute. And I think this would work for all different occasions, and also for all of kind of seasons and things like that. If there are pieces that haven't kind of come through, what I tend to do is use a hat pin and just pop them through with the hat pin. It's really easy to do, and not a lot of these got stuck in this piece. They were rather stuck in the die themselves, and I just did the same with the die. I just took my hat pin and removed all of the images using that. But you can get a tool that does that as well. So once that has been done, I'm then going to add my background onto my card base. The card base is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So this panel that we have is going to fit perfectly on top. I'm just using some of the Altenew glue tape just to add behind the die cut image that we have. And then I'm going to pop that into place onto that card there. Once that's been done, I'm going to add on my fussy cut images. Now, to add a little bit more texture, interest, dimension, I am going to add these images into place using some of the Instant Dimension foam tape from Altenew. So I'm just going to pop a lot of that foam tape behind the little fussy cut image that we have, remove the backing, and then we can pop that into place. So I am going to have these images kind of positioned around the outside. So I'm going to put one of them into position first before I add the rest of them. So as you can see, I've just popped that into place, and then we have this kind of waist around the outside edge, and we are going to use that. So don't chuck that away. That is going to be part of the card, so don't worry. I know a lot of you out there don't like cutting in to images that you've spent so much time on, but I just think that it's really pretty to kind of change the look up and stretch your supplies by using them in a different way, kind of around the edge and not just always in the center of your card. So I have the second one here, and I'm just popping that into position. It doesn't have any kind of open adhesive on it before I add in the waist from that first one that we've just cut off. And I've just added that along the right hand edge. And then once I have cut off that, I can then add in the second one that we have here. Now I found that some of these leaves were not needed, and they were kind of going too much over the other images. So what I did is I did chop some of those off. So don't feel that you need to use the image exactly as it is. If you can find a way to kind of manipulate that and make it work for you, do it. Just do a little bit of snip here and there, and just make it work for you. Again, I'm going to do a little bit more of that snipping. So I'm just going to get rid of some of these leaves just so I don't have so much kind of covering the other ones that we have. When I'm happy with the placement of that, I'm then going to stick that one down, and I'm going to remove the waist just by snipping off the excess from behind. I find that doing it from behind really does help get you a cleaner finish, because you can see exactly where you need to cut with your scissors. And these little scissors from Altenew are so very cute, and they're also great as they don't kind of pick up any adhesive when you cut through it. So here is the kind of background all done. All I need to do now is add in the sentiments. I am going to be using the Timeless Sentiments die set, and I'm going to be using the little hello that we have at the bottom here. I am going to be using both the sentiment itself and also the shadow. I have a piece of cardstock here. This is just plain white cardstock, and I am going to add some double-sided adhesive on the back of that. So when I do cut my hello sentiment, it is going to create some kind of sticker, and then I won't need to worry about putting any adhesive on it afterwards. So I'm just going to make sure that I have the right size, and I'm just going to kind of trim that to size there. Now for this, I wanted a gradient grey, so I am going to be using some inks onto this piece of cardstock to create my gradient sentiment. I'm going to be using the Silverstone ink first, and I'm just using a small blending tool to add that on. And with this ink, I am trying to add more of the kind of ink or the density of ink to one side and then gradate that ink up. So I'm going to have a dark bottom and then a lighter top. I'm just going to kind of get rid of the harsh line that I have on my blending by just using a lighter color ink. And this is the limestone. So I'm just going to go over that piece a little bit more to kind of graduate that ink a little bit softer and smoother there. Once I had done that, I then decided I wanted a darker bottom. So I'm just going to add a tiny touch of that industrial diamond around the bottom edge there. So once that has been done, I'm going to use that piece to die cut the hello sentiment. I'm just going to pop that into place where I want that to be and just add a little bit of tape so it doesn't move around while I run that through the machine. I'm going to take some of the Moonstone glitter cardstock from the Milky Way set, and I am going to use that to cut the shadow. So that is the larger kind of hello that doesn't have the words in. Once that's kind of placed into position onto my cutting mat, I am going to use my metal shim to cut around this just to make sure that everything cuts perfectly the first time. So I now have my two pieces for my sentiment, my fabulous gradient piece and also that glitter piece as well. If you do find that your kind of die cut gets stuck in the die, you can use a little pin just to remove that by just popping that through the little hole that is actually on the die for that purpose. I'm then going to remove the backing piece from that double-sided adhesive, and then I'm going to add my little sentiment into place onto the shadow kind of base layer that we have. Now, this adhesive does work perfectly sticking onto that glitter cardstock, so don't worry at all about that. Once that has been done, I'm going to add this into place onto the card that we have. I'm just going to add a little bit of foam tape just to add a little bit more dimension to this so the eye can be drawn towards it. I did play a little bit to figure out where I wanted that to go. Always just play, make sure that that's exactly where you want it before you pop it down. And here is the card complete. I really do hope that you like the card and that you've enjoyed the video as well. If you do create a card that was inspired by this, it'd be great if you do share because we'd love to see. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and we'll see you again really, really soon. Bye-bye. Hey there, Lydia here. I really do hope that you've just enjoyed the video. If so, please subscribe to the Altenew YouTube channel. Also, turn on the notification bell so you can get your daily dose of crafty techniques and tutorials just like this. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.